Hey guys, I'm Daniel Norton. I'm here in my studio in New York City with Sheila. So, got to do some social distancing and I needed to be in Manhattan today for something, so I decided I would try to do a quick video for you guys. And I get a lot of questions about various types of equipment, like why do you use this, or why should I buy that, or what's the difference between. So I thought in this one I would talk about two things that I get a lot of questions about, which is a softbox versus like a silk. We've already covered softboxes versus umbrellas in the past, so we talk about it a lot basically in many live streams. But the silk is a little different than an umbrella in a sense. It has that same kind of throws the light everywhere kind of feel, but it also has a few other kind of benefits. So let's start with the softbox though, so we get the basic idea. So if I take my softbox here, this is a 2x3, which is kind of your standard size softbox. Profoto softbox. I'm gonna put it at the classic 45-degree angle, as people say. Before I do that though, I'm just gonna make a quick shot with no flash, just to make sure that none of the light in the space is affecting my shot. Because of course you can see me here, right? But this is all just going away, right? We have a black frame. So now I'm going to turn my flashes on and I'm going to turn off my other units. So I just have this guy and it's in TTL, and I'm just gonna actually slightly hit my shot. And I'm just gonna make a quick shot here. Boom, right? Okay, perfect, right? It's exactly the type of shot that you would expect from a softbox, right? Soft, kind of wraparound light with one side of the face, a little bit darker over here to add some shape. And we have a little bit of texture, but it's soft, so it's kind of beautiful texture. And the background, even though it's a white roll of paper, is gray. Why? Well, because the light is basically closer to the subject than it is to the background. So basically inverse square law, as they say. And we can actually use the softbox to gain more control by thinking about how we position it, right? Because right now it's kind of aimed at the background. But if we take the softbox and we move it more to the side, let's say almost completely sideways, remember that it might look like I'm shooting the box past her, and people often say that to me when they see the live videos, but the reality is the light comes out of the side of the softbox. It's not perfectly straight. It's about 120 degrees on most softboxes, so. And there we go, right? We basically have a darker background, right? It's simple as that, right? We have similar light pattern. It's a little bit more kind of triangle over the eye feel. Obviously, it's not going to stay exactly the same if you move the light, but we're able to get the background significantly darker just by doing that. And really, the thing about a softbox is I could really exaggerate. I mean, I can put it way over here. Now, using a grid, again, would be a way to make the light even tighter, and maybe we'll do a video about grids as well. But just to give you an idea of what you can do with just the box, right? So we have this nice big soft box, and now we've got basically control, right? We're kind of doing side light now. The background's pretty dark there, So that's pretty good, right? We have soft light and we're able to control it. We can of course bring a reflector in if we want. If we're getting, if we feel like that was too dark on the one side, we can basically bounce light back in. So let's do that. Right, still in TTL. Now we filled it in a bit. So we basically got a nice soft light with some shadow definition, but looking good, right? That's essentially a softbox, right? You can go anywhere from your kind of classic 45 all the ways to a bit more kind of stylized. Now, when you're talking about frames, right? Right off the bat, I'll point out that this is a 4x4. That's kind of your standard size for a small frame. So whereas a standard size softbox is about 2x3, the frame, you're generally gonna end up with a larger frame than a softbox. It's unusual for people to use frames that are 2x3 really. I mean, they're not used that often for most stuff. You can get them and they're good for like product photography usually, but for a person and that kind of stuff, 4x4 is kind of the standard size. So right off the bat, you're gonna use frames, you're working with bigger light sources, so it's gonna be softer, right? Also, I mean, the other kind of thing here is that whenever you're using a frame, you always have to use two light stands, right? We gotta basically have a light stand for the frame itself. I'm setting it up at that kind of starting 45 degree. And then we need a light stand for our light. So I'm gonna turn this on so you guys can see, hopefully. This is in my B group. I'm gonna put the modeling light on because hopefully you guys will be able to see. What we wanna do with the frame is, generally, is we wanna take, at least in a comparison way to a softbox, we wanna put it as close to the silk as necessary so that we get complete coverage on the silk, as much as possible anyways, without getting too much light spilling off the sides, but we'll play with that in a second. All right, so here we are here. Let's see what this looks like. Again, we're in TTL. We'll see how good of a job it does. You know, sometimes it can get tricked. Nope, perfect. Okay, so frame, softbox, right? Softbox first. Softbox, frame. So essentially what we're looking at here is softer light, right? But we know why it's softer, right? It's softer because the light is bigger. We already know that. So really that's no surprise there, right? It's larger, right? The background stuff looks roughly the same. Maybe it's a hair brighter, right now. But basically it looks more or less the same. Now let's see if we can take the silk and do the same thing as we did before. I mean, I'm not gonna do every step, but let's just put it way off to the back like we did with the softbox. You know, and certainly we can do this as long as we have space. Now, the advantage of another advantage of the softbox is it takes up a little less space, right? Because of the softbox, we're not so worried about having the two stands like I just mentioned. So it's not only carrying equipment, it's also a space issue, right? Okay, good, that looks pretty good. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, we have that light from the back now, that kind of half face look. But look at how much brighter the background is. Right? We've lost that ability to control our light. You know, we basically have the same light on her face, but we've got too much light if you're trying to control it on the background. We're doing this like extreme turn, but at the same time, we're not getting the advantages of it. So, you know, what can we do? Well, probably not try to get that, right? What we can do is use that to our advantage, right? The fact that the box is not containing our light, let's go back to where we kind of started. Right? If we go here, and we kind of get that nice light we were getting before, but instead of taking our softbox and, I should say our silk, and putting it dead center on the light, let's actually use the fact that it's on a stand, separate stand, to manipulate its position. Let's try that. Now I think, see, I have to look here, it's kind of a small background. I think the shadow's out of the shot. Now, I'm thinking TTL might get confused here. No, it did a pretty good job. It's a little underexposed though, and that's because, again, it's white behind it. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of juice here. I'm basically using exposure compensation. Okay, a little bit. Close, I think we need a little more. There we go. So we can see that essentially what we're able to get now, instead of this, which is like bleh, right, where the softbox was nicer, our alternative, if you will, is this, right? So the softbox is great when we want to be able to have control and get that contrast and get the darker background. The silk is going to be better for us when we want to we're basically letting light bleed past. You might be asking, well, hold on, with the inverse square law, why is it that the silk, right, the light source here is closer to her? Why is the background brighter? Well, that's because I'm letting raw light go past the silk. The raw light, the silk's eating a couple of stops, so that makes up for the distance. Same thing can be true for reflecting. Let's say that I want to start, let's get that moody shot back. Moody as much as we can. But instead of, actually, let's not go that far. Let's make it kind of nice. I'll put it kind of to the side here. Let's put it totally side to her. And instead of, filling the silk completely with the light, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna let it go past a bit, right? So we'll start like this. Let's take a shot. Of course, I have exposure compensation in there, so you can see a little shadow on the background, so I'm gonna. This is kind of the beauty of the silk, right? We can move it around to get it wherever we want, both the light stand and the silk itself, right? It's all about putting it in the shot where we want it. There we go. So now we're back to that kind of earlier kind of triangle light shot, right? It looks almost similar to what we did in the beginning. But now when we want to use a bounce, I've got all this kind of bare light that's going past, right? So I can actually bring this in. I'll use the silver so we can really see it. What we're gonna do is grab that light like that and kick it back in. And there we go, right? We get some nice fill going on, you know? And that is, again, because, you know, normally the fill can't really be too bright because it's going through the same silk. But again, using the idea of the light kind of ripping past it, in fact, if I got more light past it, I probably could get my fill even. But let's just see what would happen if we do this. Yeah, there we go. It actually is over the exposure, because look, you can see the shadow over here. So that's actually this is becoming my key light. It's kind of ugly, you know, but just to show you that it can happen. Let's do this. Let's go here and let's do the same thing, but do white and see what we get there. And guys, one of the reasons why this is all working is because I am in TTL. There we go. You know, so now you've got that feel too. So there's a few different feels here that you can get. I think this was the best one though, right there, right? And now we're basically pushing our light past it. So with the silk, we've got this idea that we can do a couple of things, right? We can use the nature of the silk to basically let light go past it, which gives us a better bounce, or, you know, light of the background. Or we can just take the fact that it is a huge light source and just produces beautiful soft light right out of the bat, right? Whereas the softbox gives us this ability to control, right? So here's softbox. Again, silk, right? With the white background. I think that's kind of your optimal situation here. Darker yet controlled on the softbox, and then brighter, more open, right, with the silk. So that's the reason why I would use it. Now, here's the thing, right? You could use the silk as a fill, let's say. So there's lots of things. Again, not everything has to be your key light. This is why we have lots of different tools, and you can get lots of different looks basically using those tools. So in summary, don't look at this as one better than the other. Just like I said at the beginning. Essentially, we're looking at it as silk does a certain thing well, softbox does a certain thing well. With enough manipulation, you can get very close shots with both of them. But if you want to do one thing and you know what it is, grabbing the right tool is always going to help you. So hopefully that was useful. Let me know, comments below. Be sure to subscribe to Adorama TV, guys, and ring the bell to get all the videos. Follow me, Daniel Norton Photographer, and I'll see you next time on set.